So most people think that to have a perfect longevity plan, they need a better diet or a better workout plan or a different supplement stack. But in my practice, that is actually not the real problem. The real problem is that people's minds are increasingly overloaded, stressed, distracted, and dysregulated. And when that happens, nothing else sticks. So this is why in my practice, I start with a simple framework called MEDS. Mental health first, then exercise, then diet, and then sleep. And yes, I put mental health and the mind deliberately before everything else. I'm Dr. Thomas Pawlowski, I'm a longevity physician, and I will help you build a better system to live longer, healthier, and happier lives. Most people think that mental health is a small part of what we actually see as your overall health. But I strongly disagree. I see mental health and the mind as the system that influences everything else. Because when your mind is not in a good place, your behaviors aren't either. You tend to be more impulsive, you sleep worse, you eat more comfort food, you skip workouts, and you lose that consistency you need to build a healthier life. If your mental health is unstable, your health habits usually become unstable too. This is why I do not start with the perfect meal plan or the perfect training plan. I start with the system that drives behavior. And today, I will teach you how to fix that. So first, let me explain what usually goes wrong with my patients, because most patients think their health from outside in. They expect to start with a very lengthy protocol, new medications, a new workout plan, new supplement stack, and this may work for a few weeks or two, but eventually the real life takes over, right? Stress goes up, energy goes down, and the entire system will fall apart. Not because they do not care, not because the protocol is bad, but because they tried to build healthy habits on top of a stress overloaded mind. So what do I actually mean by mental health first? I like to break down the mind into three simple systems. And if you understand these three systems, you'll understand most of your mental behavior. Now, system number one is chronic stress. Stress is not just a feeling, it's a biological state. So evolutionarily, your biology was built for short bursts of stress, right? So think about the normal stress curve. You have a stressor, which might be the tiger. The stress hormones such as cortisol, norepinephrine, epinephrine get released. That's when you have a stressful moment, so you start running away from that tiger. And then once you've ran away from the tiger, everything goes back to normal. You start to recover, and this recovery phase is key for things like creativeness, sex, love, all the best things that happen in your life. So what happens today instead? Instead of the tiger, we are exposed to modern stressors such as work deadlines, relationships, family problems, financial instability, traffic, and so on. And what happens is that we're continuously releasing these stress hormones and continuously staying up there in this stressful threshold without recovering, without having all those beneficial effects of recovery. And not only this, in a stressful environment with cortisol high all the time, we won't be able to sleep properly, we won't be able to have a proper energetic threshold, we're not able to recover. Our biology shifts, so cortisol is high, insulin resistance goes up, our muscles get tensed, our reproductive system stops, our cholesterol goes high because we're requiring for more energy, because your body is essentially thinking that we're running from a tiger all the time. So this is absolutely not the right state to be in. And this, guys, remember, this is what causes your cancer, your diabetes, your hypertension, heart disease. This is all due to chronic stress. And we do not understand this because we're overloaded with information, we're overwhelmed with stress, and we're not aware of this problem. So the key here is become aware of your stressors. Relax. Calm down, be aware of who is stressing you, what is stressing you. Nature is one of the best ways to de-stress because you need to understand that you're not just feeling stress, your whole system is in a survival mode, and you cannot build health in survival mode. Number two is dopamine. So dopamine is your motivation and reward system. It's what makes you want to act and work towards something. There's a great experiment of two mice. One was genetically modified with a dopamine mutation, without dopamine essentially, and they put food in front of the mouse without dopamine and they started eating it anyway. They just put that food far away from the mouse and the mouse essentially died because it wasn't motivated enough to go and get that food. Dopamine is not about pleasure most of the time, it's more about motivation. And today, our dopamine systems are consistently and constantly hijacked by scrolling, notifications, sugar, quick rewards. So your brain gets used to easy dopamine, and this creates a problem because your brain becomes more distracted and lazy. But let me tell you something most people don't know, that there are two sides of dopamine. There's the first, direct dopamine effect. This comes from these quick stimulations I told you about. And there's a second that is called indirect dopamine effect. And so indirect dopamine is when dopamine is released indirectly after beneficial stressors. So instead of creating a fast peak, a fast spike of dopamine, and then a crash, this indirect dopamine release creates a steadier, healthier, normal signal that lasts longer. And these examples include stuff like exercise, cold exposures, saunas, meditations, fastings, time in nature. These all release very low dopamine constantly at a much steadier state without creating that dependency. So this way, you're not giving that instant pleasure, you're creating a more lasting sense of reward. And that trains your brain to become more resilient. This is the difference. And guys, it's the same idea here. We've been trained and we've been overwhelmed with fast dopamine spikes, and we need to just become aware of these and essentially move away from them and start using indirect dopamine spikes that use more natural sources for pleasure instead of always focusing on what our modern system is feeding us, which is toxic and won't bring you to a healthier and happier life. Let's shift back to our original biology. Number 3 is identity. This is the most important one. Guys, don't worry if you're too old, if you're too young, if you're in a bad place, if you're in a mental state that is not conductive to a better health. It's never too late to shift identity. And identity, guys, is the most important part because you essentially are mirroring yourself into what you think you want to be. So if you're 60 years old or above and you think, oh, it's too late to start a longevity plan, why am I doing this? You're actually wrong, because by shifting your identity and actually seeing yourself as protecting your health, preventing disease, wanting to have more energy, your body will actually shift. Your biology shifts based on what you actually think. Your biology will actually start matching your identity. And I've seen everything, guys. Believe me, I've been practicing this medicine for over 15 years now, and I've seen 80 years old get back in shape and regain their happiness, their health, their strength, and their stamina in very little time just by shifting their identity. I've seen young people that are not very interested in their health, maybe disregard what it means for them to be healthy and happy, change and shift their identity and become better versions of themselves. So this is what I tell my patients. Do not start with what do I need to change. Start with who do I want to become? Because as I said, identity drives behavior. It's so important and it's actually very simple. So focus on taking ownership of who you are and deciding who you want to become. So now that we understand that mental health is the key driver, let's briefly look at the rest of the system because it's very important. And I will be detailing all these systems in the next videos coming. I use a simple framework called MEDS: mental health, exercise, diet, and sleep. So number 1, start with mental health because it drives everything else. Then comes exercise. Movement improves your mood, movement improves your energy, your metabolism, your resilience. Then comes diet because you are what you eat. Nutrition works much better when your stress is lower and your routines are more stable. And finally, we have sleep, because sleep improves when the first 3 pillars start working together. So you do not need to fix everything at once, just be aware of what you need to fix. So if you're now looking at this video and you're feeling stuck in your health, it's probably not because you need a better plan or a better protocol by your doctor, it's because you need a better system. Start with your mental health, and how to do this very quickly. Step 1, become aware of what is happening in your mind. Step 2 is fix chronic stress, reset dopamine and choose your identity. And step 3 is then build meds on top of that. Because when your mind works, everything else starts to follow. In the next videos, I will show you how you can measure these key systems and track everything like a real system.